As Israel has lost support, the propaganda just building up more and more hatred of Muslims and Islam in general.
Never thought I would be the defender of Muslims.
I spent a lot of time in the Middle East. I've known a lot of the Muslim community. They're just people.
Assalamu alaikum. Let's take a look at Tucker Carlson and his guest Darryl Cooper defend Muslims against Israeli propaganda.
Propagandists in this country have been telling for the last, 10 years at least, really since 9/11, that we have to support Israel because they are the bulwark against, the defense against what we just saw happen in Spain. Like, we're going to get overtaken by the Muslims unless we support Israel. And here you have Israel supporting an invasion of a Western European country by Muslims, which I think has been, sort of ongoing for generations now. Like, they've been doing this for a long time. But most Americans kind of think we're on the same side. Like, we don't want to be invaded by the Muslims, and the Europeans don't, and the Israelis are our ally in that, but they're not.
Christian civilization and Islamic civilization are different things with their own geographic spheres, and it's definitely a situation, I think, where strong fences make for good neighbors kind of thing. I think it would be deleterious for any European Christian country to acquire a Muslim population past a certain threshold where it becomes a culturally separate thing. That's something that's not necessarily specific to Christianity, and Islam is just two different groups. And so I'm not in favor of that kind of stuff. And I do see the problems with the migrations. But one of the saddest things and grossest things that really has come out of just the last couple of years of the recent things going on since Gaza. I mean, when you look back on it, it's been going back. It's gone back further than that, but it's really intensified. Where as Israel has lost support, they have really, really, they've lessened the propaganda that comes from the direction of sort of justifying and explaining and building up support for what they're doing, and directed it instead toward just building up more and more hatred of Muslims and Islam in general. I mean, you see this from people like Laura Loomer and other types who their whole thing is just, we need to get Christians to hate Muslims, because if they do that, then their enemies are our enemies, and we don't have to think past that. And that's very unfortunate.
Yeah, I never thought I would be the defender of Muslims. It never occurred to me since I'm not a Muslim and I'm not going to become a Muslim.
Yeah.
But it's been so gross and obvious and anti-human that, like, at some point you have to be like, I don't know.
When it comes back to, the universal values you were talking about, I mean, there are certain things that apply no matter who is standing across from you.
Exactly.
And if you believe that, then, I mean, a lot of this comes down to just personal experience too. I mean, I spent a lot of time in the Middle East. I've known a lot of the Muslim community down in like the South LA, Orange County area. And after a while, like, once the mystification, the fog sort of starts to part, you realize, there are differences for sure, cultural differences and things, but they're just people. Well, and totally. I think most Americans have very little, if any, experience with
I feel
Muslims.
That way about Jews or Baha'is or any, I don't know that hate all Muslims. I don't know why that's better than hate all Jews. I just don't. It's the same to me.
Of course. Yeah. Of course it is the same. I mean, obviously it is the same.
As Tucker and Darryl both said, we're all aware of the Israeli propaganda tactic since 9/11 of dehumanizing Muslims in order to accomplish their sinister political objectives. And like Darryl said, since the Gaza genocide, Israel has amped up the anti-Muslim propaganda because they simply cannot defend or justify what they're doing, no matter what spin they put on it. So they have to triple down on the demonization of Muslims and Islam in order to get Christians in the West on their side. From that clip, it's evident that Tucker and Darryl are not pro-Muslim immigration, which is ironic because Christianity is also a Middle Eastern import to the West, just like Islam and Muslims. Also, they're fully aware about the displacement of Muslims caused by US and Israeli wars across the Middle East, which leads to constant refugee crises. Tucker claimed the Israelis supported the very recent influx of Moroccans trying to enter Spain that made the headlines. And prominent Spanish commentators took it a step further by claiming Israel and the US were behind heightened Muslim immigration to Spain. And it's no secret that Spain and Israel are not on good terms, due to the Spanish generally being pro-Palestine. At the very least, Tucker and Darryl, despite their prejudices, can see Israel's anti-Islam scam for what it is, and have enough decency to call it out as being wrong. Like Tucker said, it's gross and anti-human. And as Darryl stated, it also comes down to experience or lack thereof, because he's someone that has been around Muslims in the US and the Middle East, and can attest that we're normal, everyday people just like anyone else. However, not all Americans or people in the West know this on a personal level, and are instead taken in by Israeli propaganda. But like Tucker and Darryl, millions of non-Muslims are waking up to the fact that Muslims are not the enemy, and in fact, it's those who spread hatred against Muslims that we should be suspicious of,